So let's talk today about web accessibility. First of all, as Stefan said, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Adrián, or Adrián, or Adrián in Spanish. I'm from Spain. I'm a front-end developer at Willhaben. So if you're from Austria, you will know Willhaben. And I'm a really strong accessibility advocate. You can find me almost everywhere under my surname. So accessibility. I get a lot of times the question of what does I11Y mean? So this is because it's the international acronym for accessibility. It's because there's 11 letters between the I and the Y in the word accessibility. So I'm going to use it a lot now. Why is so obvious in the real world that these three situations are completely wrong? So poor this guy who's going to go down very fast. There is a tree in the middle of the ramp, and there's stairs at the end of the ramp. Like, it's completely wrong. So let me give you another example. There's someone who comes in with a wheelchair, press the accessibility button, and nice, surprise, yeah, stairs. So why is this so obvious in the real world, but it's not that obvious in the online world? So let me put the example in an online world. So you are in an online shop, and you want to know your previous purchases. So you call support, and then you can get something like, you need to click in the button in the top right corner. Or you want your you want to change your email address. So they can say, you need to click in the button with the engine icon. But for blind people, there's no top right corner. There's no button who looks like an engine icon. So we need to take care about these things when we develop a website. Let me give you some numbers. 2 years ago, around 7.6 billion we were in the world. But more than 1 billion people live with some form of visual impairment. From 5–10% people with glasses, I see here, colorblind, or 100% would be completely blind people. So when we develop a web application and e-commerce shop, we want to reach as much people as possible, but this is your audience as well. So you need to take care of these people. So developing web accessibility. I'm not going to talk about this today. I have another talk called How Does Your Website Sound Like? You can watch it if you want. But I'm going to talk about testing web accessibility. How can we make sure that what we develop is accessible? Automate tests are very good. They can free up your QA, your testing team from manual testing every part of the application, but it's not magic. They don't automatically make your site accessible because you need to include these automate tests in a full testing process with manual tests is important. Only around 20–50% of the accessibility issues can be detected by automate tests. So I created a very simple application in React with three tiny components. One is a button. The other one is a fake button, which is an anchor link with the role button. Sneak peek, do not do this ever. And there is an image. And in the entry point of the application, I put a bunch of accessibility errors. Let's see if we can find them. So, let's see how can we test during development process. How can we test during we made code? There are 3 tools that I want to talk about today. Very nice that Stefan did the first talk because everything is open source. So very good. The first one is React-Axe. There is a tool developed by Teque, and you can install it as a developer dependency in your React application. You can call it in your entry point of the application, and you need to make sure that you don't execute this in a production environment. So what we have here is if the environment is different than production, then I want to use this library. What this library does is that when you run your application in the browser, in the console log, you will see all issues, all accessibility violations, grouped by, first by issue. So if you have more than one violation of the same issue, you will see grouped. Then you can see as well the severity level, minor, moderate, serious, and critical. And the cool thing of this library is that you will see what is the error, where is the error in your DOM structure, and a link to dequeuniversity.com, which is the official documentation of this library, not the W3C, but a documentation on how to solve the issue and what are the best practices about this issue. So very, very cool. Linters. You were talking about, Stefan was talking about before about how to include linters into your build pipeline or into your Git hooks. So if you're using an ES linter, you can have the plugin for accessibility. So what you have to do is to include this in your package.json, obviously, and in your EST-lint RC, you can use the plugin. With line number 12, it said extends the recommended rules for this linter, it will be enough. In my personal case, I like to specify the rules that I want to use. There's one very interesting when you can specify components, so only specific components, so you can use this linter in only these components. And what a linter does pretty much is tell me that I'm wrong when I'm wrong. So you can see the notification in the code editor. It doesn't matter which one you use. And it will tell you, for example, in this case, that the div, the onClick is not an interactive element, so you cannot put an onClick in a div because this is a accessibility violation. As well, you can use the linting issues in the terminal when you npm run or yarn run your application, whatever package you use to run your React application. Same thing for Angular or Vue. My favorite probably, which is you can write your own test. Let me rephrase this. You must write your own test. So Jest is a library for JavaScript to write unit tests. Normally unit tests, you can write end-to-end tests, but normally used to write unit tests. You have to again install it as a developer dependency in your React application, and you can write a very simple test. What I'm doing here is to import the whole app. I use the React DOM server to render it to a string. That means I have the whole HTML into a string, and I pass it over the Axe, again, deque, Axe engine to find every violation in the code. What I expect, obviously, is to have no violations. So when I'm running npm run tests, I can see again the same as I'm doing with the library for the React in the browser. I can see what is the error, where is the error in my DOM structure, and a direct link to Deque University, which is again the documentation you can follow to fix this issue. Sometimes we tend to think it's done, or we inherit a code base. So you cannot plug this in from the very beginning of the process. So what you can test is the whole DOM as a thing. So Axe has a CLI, so you can, maybe you have your URL already in a server, and then you install it globally in your machine, and then you say Axe and the URL that you want to analyze. What it's doing is running a Chrome headless, running all accessibility tests, and again, since it's Axe, what is the error, where is the error, and a direct link to Deque University. Very similar tool, which is P11Y. Again, you install it globally, and then you can run it over a URL. Again, it's running a headless browser. In this case, I don't know if it's Chrome or Firefox. And it's going to tell you what violation it is, what principle of this violation of the W3C standard it is, so the WCAG, AA or AAA, then the whole DOM structure, what element is the one who's provoking this violation. Since it's not Axe or doesn't have any documentation, it's not direct linked, so it's your turn now to Google how to solve this issue. Good thing about PA11Y, you can run this into against localhost. I believe the Axe CLI as well. And again, you will see the same errors. Another very cool thing of this family, the PI11Y family, is it has a CI, which is, you can say, oh, I have a lot of URLs to test that I want to test one by one. So you can create a JSON structure with the URLs that you want to test. And this is where this library has the power on, which is you can perform actions, and then you can continue doing tests. So in the first example, it's just Stack Overflow. The second one, I'm giving a timeout of 50 seconds, which is huge. And I'm taking a screen capture. You can use this to make reports, or maybe you have a visually UI regression test as well. And in the second one, you can create actions. You can wait for an element with an ID or a class to be in the DOM. Then you can take a screenshot. You can navigate. You can click. And then you can go through all your happy path, right, as we call it. So again, you just say pi11y-ci is looking into your JSON, into the root folder of your application. It's going to run again the same errors, the same tests. If they find errors, they will, the third one is taking some time because it's performing the actions. It's going to display the same analysis as they do. And in the root element, we see, the root folder, we see the captures of the screen capture. So again, you can use this for reporting purposes as well. Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a library developed by Google. And you can find them in every Chrome browser. You can use it from the browser, but as well they have it as a terminal library. Again, you install it globally into your machine, and what it does, instead of doing a headless browser, it runs a full browser, a full Chrome. You can use the -- view to launch the report at the end. So again, it's going to perform a lot of tests, accessibility, performance, responsive design, low internet, everything. You see all the tests that Lighthouse run, and it's going to create an HTML report about it. You can click in accessibility, and then you can have some information of the same way as the other does. So what is the error, where is the error, and how to solve the error, a bit of documentation. So this is the tools that I use when I have to run over a whole DOM structure of a website. But as I said before, automate tests, okay? This is the thing that I've been saying over what I think is the main feature. It's just personal opinion. So I think the Ask CLI has the direct link to the documentation. The PI11Y, you can create options and navigate through the website. Lighthouse can export the analysis to a HTML, to a JSON file. You can include this into your build pipeline to break it and not release any code that has accessibility violations to production. I said before, automate tests are not the only way to do. So manual tests are very important as well. So the tools that I use to manual test the accessibility in the browser are these ones plus one more. So I will show you the other one after my talk. So let me show you the first one. Axe has a Chrome extension, and you can find it over the development tools. So it has their own tab. And what it does, you can analyze the whole website. It's going to analyze it. It's going to go through it. And it's going to tell you again what is the error, where is the error in the HTML. And instead of giving you a link to the Deco University, it's going to put the full documentation there, how to solve the issue. ARC Toolkit, very, very similar. Again, you can use it from the development tools. You can run test. You have every test that is performed. And in this case, I'm clicking in images. I can see what images doesn't have any alt text. And I click and I go directly to the HTML, and in the window it's going to be highlighted, so you can really see them. Accessibility insights, you don't find it over the dev tools, you find it as an extension. So you click in the extension, and you can see how a user is going to navigate through tabs. So you can see if this tab navigation is not even consistent, but it is relevant to the content of your website. Maybe I can show you afterwards a bad example of this one. Wave, and I think this one is one of the most complete ones. It analyzes, is an extension, it analyzes immediately your website, and it can give you the errors, and you can click and see it in the window. You can highlight the images again that hasn't had an alt. You can take the structure, the headers, H1, H2, H3, valid as well for SEO. You can see the contrast. You can deactivate the full CSS of your website. So you can see if the HTML DOM structure is consistent. You can see even the code, so you can analyze it deeply into the code. I think it's a very complete tool to manual test. As well, this is a simulator on how someone with visually impaired or color blindness will see your website. So maybe you want to see how someone with blurry vision can see your website. So maybe it's not good for, or the sizes of your fonts are not good. Maybe someone with, let's see, someone with color blindness. So protanopia, completely changed. Maybe even grayscale, you can simulate. Or maybe someone with peripheral vision, glaucoma, different visual impairments that makes you see how they will see your website. So maybe you can move around the content of your website to make it better. So those are the tools that I use almost every day to test the code that I produce or the code that my team produces. The outcome of this talk is to show you that they exist. They're free, they're open source, and this is now you wanting to use them. So give it a look, play around with them because they are really powerful, and use them. The code of the very small application is under my GitHub. The slides of this talk are under speaker.com/Bolonio, my surname. If you don't like the slides, I created a 3-part blog post in my website. I want to recommend, there is a brand new, like 2 months old course, officially by the W3C in edX. It is not for tech people, it's for everyone, so it's really an introduction to web accessibility. So give it a look, it's for free. And I want to leave with the sentence that I think it reflects a lot what accessibility is, which is not just about disabled users being able to access your website, it's about everyone being able to access your website. Because you forgot your glasses at home, you break your screen, you don't have your mouse with you, you have kids and then you have to use your computer with one hand, whatever. You don't need to be disabled forever, you can be situational disabled, and you need to make your website accessible for everyone. Because accessibility is not a feature, it's never been and it will never be. So we need to treat it as a part of our development process, the same as we treat testing, the same as we treat UX review as part of the in progress column in our boards. So accessibility is not a feature, it's not a post-process that we will do if we have time. Again, it really doesn't take any time to write an ARIA label or a ARIA hidden or an alt text to an image. So it's nothing that you should do post development. Thank you.